right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Live Loud Life podcast. I'm here with Rebecca Baack. She is the owner of Mecha Fitness, but we're going to talk a little bit about her background as she was sharing her extensive fitness journey, or in the fitness industry, especially in the Colorado area. But we're going to get into some of her training philosophies, some of the more recent adventures she's been doing, which I've been following along on social media, which actually look really epic. We're just going to kind of chat and see what Mecha and you're about. So
yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so introduce yourself. Give us a little bit about as far back as the history, if you want
to. Okay, so my name's Rebecca. I am the owner of Mecha Fitness here in Broomfield, or excuse me, not Broomfield, Boulder and Louisville, 2 locations. I'm the co-owner of 34 Core Power locations around the U.S. and a co-owner of APCO Movement School, which is located in Boulder and in Edgewater down in Denver. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So when did you first? I think you told me the date, but when did you first start? You were the first franchise with
correct.
with Core Power.
Yeah. So I think that was back in. It's hard to remember, but I mean, I want to say maybe 2006, 2000, or like mid 2000s.
Okay.
I opened Core Power's first franchise location, Broomfield East.
Okay.
So over on 144th and Lowell. And then Core Power franchised for a while to a couple other partners. Then they stopped franchising for a while. I opened also the Flatirons Mall location.
Okay.
And then I joined forces with some other coworkers I knew from the telecom industry. So my background's in telecom corporate strategy.
Gotcha.
And we combined our locations and then continued to expand. So in total, we have Core Powers in North Denver, South Denver, suburban Chicago, the Carolinas, Charleston, and the Phoenix, Arizona area.
Wow, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
A long time.
Yeah, a long time. So I did that. Was with Core Power for probably like a little over 15 years.
And then so you guys probably can't see on the video here, but we're sitting in a very different room than what Core Power would be. So walk me through, what was the journey of starting Mecha? Like, how did that transition into, and now what is this?
So well, there's a big journey on this. So Core Power's corporate parents had exercised a buyout option of the Core Power locations I'm part of.
Gotcha.
That transition was set to occur in April 2020. And we all know what happened in April 2020. And so we kind of got stood up at the altar in that transaction and then took them to court for that. And that's still in the legal process right now with them. But as part of that journey, I could see that was coming to an exit, whether I wanted it or not. Yeah. And started looking for other opportunities. Mecha was owned by 2 other owners. Oh, okay. So I'm not the founder of Mecha.
Gotcha.
It had shut down during the pandemic, like everybody had to, So I purchased it out of COVID shutdown and then reopened it.
Nice.
And then grew it to this location here in Louisville.
So obviously had a very strong feeling about the possibilities of Mecha.
Yeah.
To be able to revive
it for sure. Yeah.
Pandemic. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had tried it when I was at Core Power. So it used to be on the Pearl Street Mall, and it was called GoCo Fit. Not on the mall area, but on the East Pearl Street. And a lot of yoga teachers were going there because they loved it, because it's similar to yoga in that it's really slow paced and about mindful alignment, but more strength training focused to it. So I loved the brand. I loved the concept back then. Since then, the owners had added on the cardio element to it as well. So there's kind of 2 concepts under one roof. So this room that we're sitting in, which is the low impact strength training room, and then the other room, which is the low impact cardio hit room. So took that on and expanded it to Louisville in 2021.
So I'm curious to get your perspective on this, because for someone who does not do enough yoga, but having conversations with those that enjoy yoga is, I think it'd be valuable to get your perspective for someone who has so much background in that, but yet also doing strength training, and then also seeing you do deadlifts and things like that, right? We'll get into that. Is how do you work? I'm not gonna say one's better than the other, but how does this benefit someone who strictly does yoga, thinking yoga is enough strength? And that's obviously a very specific definition for the person.
Sure.
Right. But I think enough people do yoga. We're like, well, I'm getting strength training through yoga, but I feel they need some more. So how could this be different? How would this benefit them?
Right. I mean, I would say like the first principle is just do movement that you love, you know?
For sure.
So if you love yoga and it keeps you coming back, like then awesome, like keep doing yoga. At some point you sort of top out on yoga. It's all body weight based yoga, so you can't add weight to it in any kind of realistic way. So you just get to a point where there's no juice in the squeeze anymore for you, you know?
Good point.
And what's nice about the resistance classes we have is it's all spring-loaded tension, and so you can add weight as you go. You can constantly be progressing in this room, but it feels in your body similar to yoga, and that it's mindful and slow.
Yeah.
So that's really why I think people, in some ways, I mean, yoga is awesome for a lot of different things too, but I guess quote unquote kind of graduate from yoga as their physical practice because they just top out and the body weight holds of it and they need more resistance to it.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And like you said, it obviously depends on the goals, the context of the person. And yes, doing the thing that you enjoy keeping you back is huge. So that's good. It's a good stepping stone into some other stuff. So then the cardio piece, which is in the other room next to us, right? What are some of the equipment or pieces of equipment or things that you guys utilize over there?
Yep. So we use VersaClimber over there, there's not that many gyms around that use it, and it is killer.
Yeah.
It's a great low impact contralateral workout too, so good for your brain. You can add resistance to that machine as well, so you can do a resisted climb on it. So we use VersaClimbers. We use assault bikes, so Rogue's assault bike, which is common in the CrossFit industry. Most people are familiar with that, but that is also a killer piece of equipment. And then we use ski ergs, so a standing skier platform. And then we have weights, free weights. We have a pull-up rig, TRX, slam balls, all kinds of equipment. So, it's different every day, depending on what day you come. But you'll always be on those 3 cardio machines and doing like some kind of cardio challenge and then some sort of floor work challenge. Part of that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I mean, I think that's what's so great is just it gives you the taste of what people like, but then also like diversification. Because I know for me, and biasly, I have certain things that I enjoy more, and I don't diversify enough. Which is, that's another conversation. But that's good because you can hit all those different things in such a different topic. But definitely. For you and your training, you're adding another layer to that. Walk us through some of the training that you currently are in.
Sure. Yeah. So I also do just heavy strength training, as we've talked about before. I have a gym in my garage, so classic lifts: front squat, back squat, deadlifts, bench press. The classic ones. And so I like to do that as a complement. I would say that's like my main, probably my main focus is strength training. And then I'll take resistance maybe twice a week. I like resistance because it's unilateral work largely. So it's good for stabilization of both sides of your body because, as you know, as a strength trainer, you tend to, in any move like a deadlift, like dominate into one leg. And so you have to constantly be managing that, trying to make sure both legs, joints are equally strong and you're getting like same tension, both sides to prevent injury in your weightlifting, So a lot of people love this room that do that kind of bilateral work, like cyclists or runners, so that they can work on one side of their body and the other and get symmetry. So I like this work for kind of this is sort of my accessory and my core work. And then I'm a big believer, even though cardio is not my favorite thing to do. I mean, I love hiking. I will get cardio hiking, but hitting that like max heart rate threshold, like 1 to 2 times a week, just a minimum dosage, of a couple minutes of maybe some sprints or whatever it is that's like really pushing your cardio threshold. I'm a big believer in that for just health and wellness and longevity in your life. And also being able to then pick up when someone asks you if you want to climb a 14er and it's like right away, no problem. You don't get altitude sick and it's fine. So
does your training then also include like a subset or baseline of steady state, or is that just basically the hiking that you get? So is sufficient for that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that for steady state cardio, that's when I just do the stuff I enjoy, like a walk with my dog or a hike or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I never just get on a treadmill or like just, go for 45 minutes or something like that. That's not my personal preference.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, and that's what so many people I don't think are doing. Well, I see I feel like a dichotomy of not doing enough and or doing too much of it, where they're not seeing the balance of having just some steady state. They think just redlining all the time.
Oh yeah.
Is best.
Yeah, I definitely try to talk people out of that coming every single day to Mecha.
Yeah.
They'll double up both classes because what's great about Mecha is the workouts are short. They're only 50 minutes long and they're very intense. And that's how I like, if I want an adaptation in my body, like hit the intensity really hard and do it for a short amount of time, like minimum viable product,
Exactly.
No more than that, because then you get wear and tear on your body and just things start breaking down. And I think in Boulder County in general, we all like fitness because it's like our mental health too. So you got to be mindful about the overtraining, just like you said, because we actually enjoy it. A lot of people just enjoy the fitness and can tend to overdo it.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, the minimal viable product term is something I use a lot too, because it's like, while we enjoy fitness, like, wouldn't you enjoy doing other things other than just fitness? If you could get what you want out of just doing this, would that be enough?
For sure.
And most people would agree, but then yet they think, well, if I get it out of this, if I do more, then hopefully I'll get more.
Right.
But sometimes it goes the opposite direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a good point. So with that, a lot of this has been obviously supplementing and supporting some of your recent adventures.
Yeah.
I'm curious to hear how some of those were.
Sure. So what you're referring to is I attempted to summit Denali. Let's see, that was last month. And my training for that was largely like strength training, a lot of spine stabilization and isometric spine strength. So a lot of one arm heavy carries,
nice.
For a mile on the that is where I would use a treadmill sometimes. And strength training work for that, getting a lot of like load in the hips, so my hips could stabilize my knees, working that whole chain up and down, and then the cardio realm, because I needed to work that sort of hypoxic state that you have to be in at altitude. And it's a great way to do it in a short period of time. Like, it's hard for me to do sprints or like run outside sprints or something like that. So being able to do that on the VersaClimber where it's non-impact and I could just completely gas myself and like hit that max heart rate threshold in 30 seconds and just do that a couple rounds. I went into Denali just feeling really strong, really fit until I got to the top. And then I crashed and burned.
Do you think it was sheer altitude that was the factor?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I was starting to show signs of high altitude pulmonary edema. I really fought for that summit hard. I got to summit day. I lasted, 7 hours through summit day. So got through all the technical terrain. And you're like the very last part, you're literally like at the base of that final hill. It's maybe a third of a mile. It's the first time you can actually see the summit from the entire time you spent on Denali. Like, you can't see the summit until really right there. And I started having like wheezing, with my breath. And like we were at a final break, the break where you get to take off your backpack and go without your backpack. And that's it, you're done. And I was just like a puddle on the ground. Wow. And it like really terrible flu-like symptoms. And the guide was like, you still got to get down. Yeah. So I don't think you should, I think like you need to just chill and rest. And I sobbed. It was off. I mean, I just was like
rough.
So crushed. And I was also just crushed because the youngest guide had to stay with me. So I limited his ability to summit. So I just felt terrible about that too. And it was super humbling. But then the hardest part was then getting down because all the technical part of the route I'd already done. So I had to get down that piece. And the guide, there's all this sorts of like protective equipment on Denali, like stuff where you clip in. So in case you fall, like not everybody falls and you're safe. Because of the state I was in, they were worried about me bending over and clipping and unclipping into the carabiners.
Oh yeah.
And so the guide was like, you, me, and another client that was on the trip are going to travel down unhooked. And I was like, I'm not comfortable with that, because we're all going to risk our lives. Like, isn't there another way? And he's like, no, this is the safest way. Like, I don't think you should bend over and like clip in and clip out. And so none of us would clip in. And I was concerned because I had done a lot of research about Denali and where are the places where there's been accidents in the past. And so, we had to travel down these sections, which are, you're literally walking a tightrope ledge, foot in front of foot, and it's a sheer drop off. Wow. And we didn't clip in. And so I just was like, I'm a believer of training grit. And one of the levels of grit is like, can you be at your best when you're at your worst? And so I just like the whole time I was thinking like, I got to be at my best, even though I'm at my worst. Yeah. Because if I slip and start sliding down and they can't self-arrest me, like all three of us go down. So just trying to make every step perfect on the way down, which I did, and we got down. But then like once I was at kind of the bottom of each technical section, I had to melt into a puddle for a while. Yeah, just recover. It just took everything out of me to get down there and keep everyone that was on my team safe and me safe. And it was pretty challenging. I mean, one of the most like humbling experiences I've been through for sure, to where like at the end of those 2 days, there's sort of 2 days of technical climbing to get down. I would just be a puddle, and my tent mate, who was the one who was on my rope, would like take off my boots, change my socks for me, bring me food, just do everything she could to take care of me. Like the whole team carried a lot of my weight. But right around when I got around 11,000 feet, like just changed. I just perked right back up. So it really was that altitude. And, I would like to try it again. I hope I get a chance to try it again. I learned a lot. One of the big things I will do differently next time is I will take the freaking Diamox, which is altitude sickness prevention medication. I wasn't taking that in the dosage that was recommended. Got it. And so, that in addition to a whole host of other things that I learned, but it was also, I don't regret any of it too, because like if I had just strolled to the top and been able to take like the sweet Instagram photo, holding my ice axe and everything, like, I mean, sure, that would have been cool, but like, I didn't, I learned so much from this, and it really like cracked open my heart in a way that I think I needed, to just amazing story. Experience having people need to take care of me and to be the vulnerable one and to be the weak one. And so no matter what, I don't regret like any moment of that journey. It was fantastic and amazing. That's an amazing story. So obviously medication helping. Outside of that, I mean, we have big peaks, but is there any way to get additional high altitude training? Yeah, I mean, you can like up on a mountain, right? Like you can like buy the expensive tent that you sleep in, in your house, so you can like do that. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people that live at sea level do. Yeah, I did like some winter 14ers, a lot of winter hiking, and I have no problem at 14,000 feet. I mean, a lot of the people on the team were feeling sick at 14,000 feet and not doing well. And I was fine there. It was 17,000 feet was where I started not to feel great. I didn't sleep the night before we summited. And when you get to the next camp, the high camp at Denali, you have to build camp too. So I was like sawing ice blocks out of the mountain. Like we had to like stack ice blocks up around our tent. Yep. We probably didn't get to bed till 11 p.m. that night. And then you're at 17,000 feet, so it's hard to sleep. Yep. I didn't sleep at all that night. I woke up the next morning already nauseous, no sleep, having a hard time getting water down. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like already a train wreck from the start. What's the summit of? How high is it? It's 20,330, I believe, or 20 somewhere around 20,300. Wow. So, yeah. So, and you had mentioned a believer in grit, right? Being your best at your worst. And just from because I mean, I think most people would understand this, but how does your everyday training philosophy and mentality like build into that? Sure. I'd say a lot of it is doing things that suck, doing stuff you don't want to do. Yeah. So I did a lot of cold weather hiking. I did a lot of like when I was tired, still getting up in my garage, doing back squats, even though I just was exhausted or didn't feel like it, just pushing through. And that, that sort of saying, embrace the suck,
Mhm.
you know, trying to find situations where you have to embrace the suck.
Do you do anything? So this is, I feel like, because Jocko Willink, I don't know if you've heard of it, he talks a lot about this, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of people do, right? And it's using physical suck to
Mhm.
harden you mentally,
Right.
which makes sense, right? Because you just
Yeah.
have to overcome something.
For sure.
Is there anything that you do from a mental perspective that's consistent that helps with that?
Yeah, I would say opening gyms in the middle of a pandemic.
There you go.
That's definitely been
That's a good point.
mental challenge. So I'd say for sure that I opened really like three gyms across 2 different fitness concepts throughout the pandemic. So that takes a lot of hard work, a lot of grit, a lot of smarts, a lot of just like scrappiness. So that is one of them. I haven't been back since the pandemic, but I was a practitioner of jujitsu
Nice.
prior to the pandemic. And I think that is also a fantastic way to build grit and calmness under pressure. Literally under pressure there, like somebody laying on top of you and just like waiting for them to make a mistake, that patience.
Yeah.
So that one as well. And it's something I'm always seeking out and thinking about. Like if I don't feel like I'm being challenged emotionally and spiritually, I'll think about like what would be something that I could take on that would be a struggle that would push me in that way where I could learn.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yeah, thanks.
I mean, I think that's a kind of a cool way to wrap up. I don't have any other questions other than maybe if there's anything you wanted to add about how obviously, well, I mean, you added it's the cardio, the resistance training being supportive of obviously bigger goals, but yet can be a standalone as their own.
Yeah.
Obviously, not everyone has Denali goals,
sure.
so that it's a little bit better or differently tailored. But is there anything else you wanted? I mean, that was an awesome story. That was so great. Is there anything else you wanted to add, or any other like big mission that you have coming up?
Oh boy, big mission. Just enjoying life, figuring out work-life balance. I have kids too. We talked about that. And figuring out like how do you get them to build grit? How do you push them?
Let's add a little bit of that. I mean, because I wouldn't say the majority of people who listen are parents, but a lot of people who are part of Live Loud are parents. But a lot of us are younger parents, right? Meaning our kids are like, my oldest is 6. What are some of the ways you've tried to instill that mental toughness and grit in teaching your kids, like, hey, the world's not all roses and butterflies?
Definitely. I mean, I'm a big believer in chores, and giving your kids chores. I had a lot of chores growing up, and that was what like someone who used to work restaurant industry told me that's the first interview question she would ask people is, what chores did you have growing up?
That's a good
and if
one.
they couldn't answer that, she's like, interview's over.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer in giving them chores. So yeah, just a simple response for that. But
that's
works.
Perfect. It works really well. Yeah. And it also just, I mean, from an early get-go too, it's chores in a sense of not like you have to do these things. Like, hey, we're part of a family. This is a collective thing that we do together as part of just being a unit.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
For sure.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing.
For
I love the gym. This is an amazing setup, and I loved hearing that story. And hopefully we get to see a Denali Summit picture.
Yes.
Soon, right?
Hopefully someday, maybe in a year or two.
Yeah. I'd be back to the drawing board. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Thanks so much for
thank you, Antonio.